Welcome to the Property Management Mastermind Show with your host, Brad Larsen. Brad owns one of the fastest growing property management companies in San Antonio, Texas. This podcast is for property managers by property managers. You'll hear from industry-leading professionals on best practices, new ideas, success stories, and lessons learned. This is your opportunity to learn about the latest industry buzz surrounding property management, as well as tips and strategies to improve your business.
This show is sponsored by the best home inspection software on the market for property managers. We endorse and use Z-Inspector as our software of choice for our team to document home inspections. We particularly like their 360 degrees camera system that produces amazing views of the interior room. Your clients will love Z-Inspector documented inspections you provide them. Visit www.zinspector.com to learn more.
86% of millennials and over 60% of baby boomers in a recent study said smart home is an amenity they're willing to pay more for. The ease of use and energy savings that comes with a smart home pay for themselves, while also increasing property managers' revenue. Point Central provides services like unattended showings, secure access, and HVAC control, while also providing value to your residents through smart automation. Request a free demo today. Call us at 888-532-3032 or visit pointcentral.com.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Property Management Mastermind Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Larsen, and today's guest, I have Mr. Chris Clothier, who I'm teasing is really Ryan, because he came at me in a Zoom call and he logged in with one of his team members' Zoom. So he pops up and, hey, Ryan, and it's just joking. I was ribbing him right away, but no, it's Chris Clothier and gang, and he's been around the property management industry. He's an actual operator, and he's going to be speaking at the Property Management Mastermind Conference Friday afternoon, May 21st, Gaylord Resort in Dallas, Texas. It's one you don't want to miss. Now, he's been around the property management scene. He's a longtime property management company owner, built his company from next to nothing, one property up to a substantial amount. And I'm going to let him talk about it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Chris to introduce himself. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. So first thing we want to talk about is kind of give us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, because this will really set the context and stage for you to be a marquee presenter on Friday at the Property Management Mastermind Conference. Go from there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So I am a part owner of a company called REI Nation. It's a family-owned business. Myself, my father, my younger brother. We've been around for the better part of 2 decades. Started in 2003 as a investment company that would buy, renovate, and then sell pieces of property to investors that wanted to own them long-term. And we ended up, from the start, we're doing 1 to 2 houses a year, just like any, I guess, normal investor. But one of the things that we recognized pretty early on, we had trouble finding good property management companies that would operate the way we wanted to operate, with a service type model. And we couldn't find one. And we ended up starting our own management company in 2005. We were very poor. We were very bad at it. We often say that we were, if you're ranking best to worst, we were probably in the lower part as far as a management company, because we didn't really care that much about management. We cared about investing, and we thought management was an afterthought. Roughly about 2009, we got serious about management, and we got serious about doing it really well. And today, as you noted, we happen to manage properties in 11 different cities across the Southeast, from Dallas all the way across through northern Alabama. We started in Memphis, Tennessee, which is still our hub. But today we're managing, under 7,000 properties, but we'll exceed 7,000 properties this year. The value of our portfolio for our owners is a little over $1 billion. And we are, we're not stopping. We've grown to really love the process, everything that goes into being a really good management company. So much to the point that today it's the secret is really, it's all about being great at service. Customer service is what we do. Management of real estate just happens to be the widget that we sell, the thing we show up to the job for every day. But I'm really looking forward to the conference coming up. I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit about our history and a little bit about what we do and how we've managed to grow so much each year. And, I mentioned that we're at just over $1 billion, and it took us 18 years as a company to reach that mark. We started off like everybody with one house and an idea to get better each day. I write it here on my board. I try and give myself different quotes each week. And this week it's be better today than you were yesterday. And that's kind of the way we've shown up to work each day. Well, our plan, and we hope it comes to fruition. I think it will, that we'll have our second $1 billion under management for owners within the next 3 to 4 years tops. And so 18 to build the first billion, 4 to build the second. We'll see what happens with the third, right?
Really excited about your presentation coming up, because I think a lot of the lessons learned that you've brought to your knowledge over the last 15, 18 years are going to come out in that presentation. Now, not all of them, but you're going to be able to share some key ones. Yeah. And without, giving the secret sauce away, I look forward to the presentation to hear some of those. Now, you mentioned something earlier that there's always a saying out there that if you're not embarrassed by your first service offering now, you're doing something wrong. You've probably heard the similar saying, or I butchered it in some way, but it's like looking at yourself 10 years ago, like, God, I can't believe I wore those pieces of clothing. You look at your website, oh, I can't believe I looked like that back then. I can't believe, we offered that back then. I can't believe we did that. If you're not embarrassed now by stuff you did years ago when you first started, you're doing something wrong. And that's like one of those major sayings out there. And the other thing that I want to bring up is.
No, go ahead.
Well, so the other thing you mentioned is, the service business. And I thought too, I always like to say this, is that we are actually money managers along with providing services, along with managing homes. But really the money manager part should be taken to the forefront. And that gives you an idea of the kind of business that you run. Taking in rents and distributing rents, that's a money management. Managing your P&L working with your vendors, working with your business, working with your own income, that's money management. And so that's a lot what we do in conjunction with providing a very good service. So you talked about that just a minute ago. And so, you can probably hone in on that a little bit more, kind of how we provide, and you provide a very good service in what you do.
Yeah, we recognized early on that if we were going to be a good management company, if we were going to be a good, service provider, meaning we were going to be able to buy and sell houses for investors that were interested in investing where we were, then management wasn't just a value added service. It needed to be better than they could get anywhere else. And that's kind of the way we approached the growth of our company. Was we quit looking at other management companies and saying we just need to be better than them. And we began to say, we need to be better than what we experience. So we need, every day we're trying to provide a better service. We're trying to be more accountable. We're trying to, again, provide something that not only that they can't get elsewhere, but they'll never be able to find elsewhere, if that makes sense. We quit looking at other companies and trying to compare ourselves to them and started saying, what would we want as an investor? Hands down, what would make us really happy? And, what we came to were these really basics. It's interesting. It was great communication was number one. Accountability was number two. And I'm sure you're just like me with your background, that if you say you're going to do something, you do it, period. If you tell somebody you're going to call them back, if you tell somebody you're going to, whatever it ends up being, I'm not saying so much your word is your bond, that's kind of that cliche, but that's really what it boiled down to. It's like we approached our business every day as, if we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. And it was so interesting as we began to grow as a company that we recognized that the better service we provided, the more our business grew. So there's an old saying from Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A from many, many years ago, who would say that if you demand that you get better, your clients will demand that you get bigger. And so for us, we started focusing on, what are we doing every day? Are we answering the phones? Are we communicating well? Are we doing what we say we're going to do? And then we took those same approaches and we started applying it to vendors and residences and started changing the way we talked about certain things. And, it's kind of funny. You look up one day and suddenly it's, wow, this is, there's no whiteboard anywhere. This whiteboard doesn't have the plans for growth on it. It just has the plans to be better today than we were yesterday. Pretty soon, the thing's taken off. you can't hold it back anymore. So
let's
I'm
switch
looking
gears a
forward.
little bit. So I'm going to ask you some questions just as like property manager to property manager. And this is probably outside of the presentation you're going to give on that Friday at the conference. But let's just take, for example, COVID. So can you give us just kind of a few minutes on how your business has been impacted by the COVID pandemic in the last year and kind of some of the things that you changed? To lead off, we had to start doing different things differently. We had to start doing no touch lease agreements. We had to start doing more, applications without, anything type in paper. And maybe you start doing things differently with your court hearings and notices to vacate, all that good stuff. Just give me a few minutes and talk about it. It's just completely conversational. What's going on with the COVID world in your business?
Well, I will tell you that everything you just mentioned are changes that we all had to make as an industry. But, first and foremost, March 16th last year, I believe, was a Monday, and we showed up to work, as many did, unsure of, what the future of our business was going to look like. We were unsure of where rent's going to be paid. Was the government going to pay rents for people? Were they going to dismiss all? Nobody knew. There was rumors flying around of what was going to happen. And I will tell you this, that I say accidentally, it's not accidentally, but it's very, we were very, again, lucky that we had decided as a company that the way we treated our residents and the communication we had with our residents was really paramount to our success. And we had made this shift 2 or 3 years ago. We learned, about language and the words that we use and, being deliberate with certain things from another management company out of Florida who we mastermind with. And so we implemented in our company just a change in verbiage in the way we would approach our residents. And so what we've had over the last 13 months, we saw an inconsequential dip in rent collections. So we track, as many do, KPIs, and every month we track how much of our billed rent is collected during that month. And it fell by a percentage point. I mean, we went from 98.5% of our rent collected to 97.5%. It was negligible. It was nothing. And then after it was in the fourth quarter of this past year, so about 9 months into the pandemic is when it dropped down to 96.5%. And then by February, it's back up to 98.5%. We know some of that is tax refund and of course, assistance from the federal government or, other entities. But my point with that is that our communication was already so good, and that the bond of respect had already been set where we did not face issues of non-payment and evictions. We have still to this day, we had to deal with less than 2% of our entire portfolio had a non-communication eviction. So, less than, or even having to make a court filing because we haven't been able to do a lot of evictions to this day. But my point is that less than 2% of our portfolio over 13 months just became uncommunicative, where we just knew that they were not going to be in the house. We had to get them out one way or the other. The rest were very, upfront, working hard to keep us informed. They wanted to stay within the home. We look back, and this past year, 13% of our portfolio experienced a vacancy. That's it. For us, over a year period, traditionally would be about 19%. So less than 13% experienced a vacancy during the year. Those types of numbers and performance, the rest of it, from the changing to the no touch, we were already doing a lot of this because we manage in so many different markets. We have 2 main offices, Memphis and Dallas, and they manage the other 9 cities from there. So we already do a lot of, no contact applications, a lot of no contact lease closings. So we had those processes down very, very good. The last thing I'll tell you, that if there was a change and an adjustment, it was this, that we took our entire executive team. So our CFO of our company was calling residents that first 2 months during COVID. So the day a resident was behind on their rent, they were getting a call from the highest team member we had. I mean, there was no job that was too low for any of us. And we were on the phone with residents, communicating to them, expressing our desire to work with them, but they had, everybody's got a job to do here, if you know what I mean. Like you you don't just get to stay in a home because you're there. It takes communication. It takes working together. It takes, trying to get through this as a team. And so again, we approach this with no job is too small for any of us. We're all on the phones, all hands on deck. Everybody's doing this together. And what we found was like our team through years of great communication with our residents and building rapport, we did not face issues that many management companies faced. And today we're actually stronger and bigger than we were going in because of kind of that, I wouldn't say reputation, but just of the way we operated on a day-to-day basis before COVID hit really, really set us in a good spot. So
great stuff. So a couple things I heard is your delta from what went down as far as the rent collections was minimal, 1%, a little bit of dip in, the spring, and then right back up to 98%. So that's what everyone was freaking out about. If you remember, we're thinking 10, 20, 30%,
yes,
delinquencies, right? They were telling us, half of your tenants aren't going to pay rent. And so we're all freaking out in the industry. But what I love too is your leadership that you showed from the top down of actually picking up the phone and calling residents. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I don't think a lot of business owners out there didn't. I can tell you I did not. So maybe I'm a bad leader, but it's just one of the things that we didn't really have to do necessarily. And the other cool part, the other stat, because again, I'm kind of a metrics nerd a little bit, is that your rollovers, meaning your vacancies, were less. So people weren't leaving the home. You were getting more renewals. You're getting less vacancy because no one was leaving. Nobody was moving from this home to another home. And so your vacancy went down from 19 to 13%. Very impressive stuff. And of course, you're just really perfecting even more those no-touch leases from a distance. You have a call center type situation where you're working and taking calls in one market and servicing another market. Just all good stuff that people need to hear on a tactical level. I mean, you have strategy from the whole thing. Your business is not shut down. Of course, you're working with your tenants on a more day-to-day basis, and then it paid end result dividends for you guys because you're a stronger company now. Great stuff. I love it.
Right. It allowed us to be. It was really interesting. It allowed us to be proactive rather than reactive. And I spent a lot of time on the phone with other management companies in April, May, June. So part of it was sharing. I wouldn't necessarily call it masterminding, but maybe that's exactly what it was, where we're talking best practices. How are your KPIs? How are our KPIs? Let's stay in touch to know how everybody's doing. And really what I found most interesting, and I give my dad a lot of credit for this. My dad's, he's 56 years in business, and let's see if I do my math right, almost, so 56 years in business and 42 of those as an entrepreneur, not taking a check from anyone else. He just, he came to this from a standpoint, we approached this pandemic and everything from there's no time to not have a plan. You can't afford to have one plan. You can't afford to wait and see what's going to happen. We had to get out in front. And so on the night of March 16th, which was a Monday evening, that night at 10 o'clock at night, we are still meeting as a team, preparing for what, all the different steps we have to take in April. We had 3 or 4 different plans set up based on what was occurring. But at the time, we did not know. We would only find this out looking backwards, that all the work that had been done ahead of time laid the groundwork for the success we were going to have. And that's what I kept trying to share with other management companies was, hey, as we're talking, regardless of where you're at, don't look at the past. You have to plan right now for going forward. So if you made a mistake in the past, or if you didn't call all of your residents back in March to kind of begin to set the tone with them, it's not too late to call them now. Some people gave free rent right off the bat, or big rent discounts right off the bat, just to make sure they could collect rent. And so they lost a lot of revenue for themselves and their owners. One of the things we came back with that I told a lot of people is, it's okay. You are where you are. You continue to move forward, but you just do it proactively, not reactive. Don't wait to see what's going to happen. Get out in front, create a plan, and then you're already ready with that next plan based on what the result is. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does quite a bit. Now, the conference coming up, you're planning on attending, the conference we have coming up for the Property Management Mastermind Conference. Your plan is attending as well as a conference attendee. So you're planning on being there Thursday and Friday. You're going to be attending some of the sessions. You're going to be doing the masterminding, just like a lot of the other attendees. So you as an operator, that's going to be a neat opportunity for the folks that are attending the conferences. They're going to be able to, grab you in the hallway and maybe, pick your brain a little bit. And I think that's going to be a neat deal. Not to mention you'll have a Q&A session at the end of your presentation on Friday afternoon.
Right.
So great stuff on that. Now you're looking through the lineup. Is there anybody or anything that really excites you about the conference in particular as an attendee?
Well, I will tell you that what I'm most excited about is, and I tell people this all the time, that sometimes it's easy to look at me. Of course, I'm going to be talking on stage there on Thursday afternoon. And I just mentioned some big things. I just mentioned the $1 billion word a minute ago. But the reality is that I'm most looking forward to using my ears there and listening and learning and hearing from other people that I recognize fully that there is so much that as a company, as an operator, as a part on that I can improve on. So I take a lot of notes. I bring a lot of just one-line suggestions. It's just one idea that can really impact my company. And I bring a lot of those back to different people within my company and say, hey, this is something I heard about, what you do, or this is a company I heard about, or this is a process someone else uses. Let's review this and look at it. I look forward to that. That's why I'm attending the conference. Really, it's not, and I'm sure as I get closer, I'm going to zero in on one or two people I'm really looking to learn from. But the reality is that as good as we are at what we do, there's always something we can learn from someone else. There's always somebody doing something that is impressive or that we can use, implement to our own business. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from the other attendees, from small owners, small management companies to big ones. It doesn't matter. I'm just looking forward to connecting and seeing what I can learn there those 2 days.
Fantastic, Chris. Appreciate your time here. So if somebody want to get in touch with you outside of the podcast or outside of the presentation you're going to be at the Friday at Mastermind Conference, tell us some more how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, I'm going to, especially with this particular conference leading into it, I would love for somebody to reach out to me through LinkedIn. It's Chris D. Clothier there at LinkedIn. You can also find me through REI Nation, which is our company there on the site. But what that's going to help me do is especially if somebody mentions the conference itself, like looking forward to connecting to the conference, it's going to help me kind of weed out, because I get a lot of emails. I'm sure that we all do. And I want to be able to really focus in on anybody that's going to be at the conference and wants to connect before or there. So I think LinkedIn would be the best place because it's going to let me really focus on those that are going to be at the conference. So yeah,
appreciate it. Great opportunity to meet with you there. Now, quickly, I forgot to mention, tell us about your book. You wrote a book. You got to talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, it's well, hang on.
He's gonna go grab the book, gang.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? I didn't realize you were gonna. So I've got. I wrote a book. It's been a few years. It was called The Turnkey Revolution, and many of us have heard the terminology turnkey, what it really means, and so it is one of the ways that we grew into such a large management company. Was we identified properties in areas that we wanted to manage. We bought them ourselves, renovated them, and then we would sell them to investors who wanted to be passive. Then that investor would turn around and hire our management company to manage the property for them. That has been the way that we have really grown. So, at such a steady pace through the years. Well, I wrote a book for investors themselves on how to do that successfully. But this also, the power of the book is it tells investors how to, because there's all kinds of markets you can invest in, how to go about finding a good company in other markets. But it's a really good, if you ask me, it's a roadmap for companies on how to be really good at providing that service, how to be really good at helping your management clients build their portfolios. Because we all know none of us wants to manage an asset that is going to underperform. And the best way to make sure it's going to perform is that about the maintenance of it, about the renovations, about the location. And if you could choose and pick all that, wow, that could be transformative. So anyway, that's the book. I'm looking forward to sharing it. It's been out for a few years and, I think it's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, it is a good book. No, I've definitely taken it in. And, I love the fact it's on audio because I don't read too good. So having an audio book out there, I love it. Chris, fantastic time spent here. Really looking forward to seeing you at the Mastermind Conference in a few weeks, few months, going to be 5-6 weeks now. So I look forward to seeing you there, and we'll have a beer, all right?
Hey, Brad, thank you for having me on, man. I look forward to it. We'll see you in Dallas, right?
Thanks, Chris.
If you are looking to enhance your tenant's moving experience, cut down on phone calls or emails to you or your staff regarding utilities, then you must connect yourself, your team, and your tenants with Citizen Home Solutions. Citizen Home Solutions takes the hassle of utilities off your hands and your tenants. Best of all, we do it for free. Build us into your tenant benefit package. Oh, and start benefiting from our revenue share program. Yes, we pay you a quarterly commission on specific services your tenant opts into. Want to know more? Give us a call today at 877-528-3824 or visit pmcpartner.com. As more tenant-friendly legislations are passed, from reduced security deposits to no evictions in the winter months, and everything in between, in the future, the landlord's income will be ultimately affected, and even being driven out of their rental business. Property managers and landlords need to make sure their voices are heard to help reduce the tide of these increasing laws that will ultimately make owning a rental property more difficult and costly. Let your landlords know about SureVestor's Landlord Protection Insurance to help them protect their rental income. Call us at 800-975-0562 or visit SureVestor.com to learn more about SureVestor and how it can help you protect your landlord's income and grow your business.
This has been a podcast episode by PropertyManagementProductions.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us feedback, and come back for our next episode.